Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I accept things the way they are. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful is happening to me right now. I love wasting. I love wasting. I can breathe. I reap abundantly. I already have everything I need. Wonderful is happening to me right now. Don't you feel it? Something wonderful is happening to me right now. Oh yeah, I accept things the way they are. I will. I accept things the way they are not. Something wonderful is happening to me right now.
Carmen is here.
Always at the door.
How are you?
Thank you.
Good morning. What a lovely day. Can you believe it's winter somewhere? And so right now as we get ready and we come together, leaving all our issues outside, sitting here in the presence of love, in the presence of peace, in the presence of welcome. And we just take a breath and take in all of that awareness. And we can declare today that this is a day of appreciation. This is a day that we appreciate how we got here, who we are, the blessings of this marvelous congregation, the blessings of this wonderful place that is so sacred and kept sacred by the many people who care about us enough to do it. We appreciate each other because without each other, there would be no life. We appreciate the ability to be aware, the ability to actually know despite all of the things that go around, that go on around us. We appreciate the wonder of children. We appreciate the peace that we find here. And we are thankful for all of that. And in all of that, we appreciate life. We appreciate the ability to understand all the wonder around us. And in that appreciation, we relax and we settle into the rest of this wonderful, wonderful service. And I end with Namaste.
If it's comfortable for you, please close your eyes. And just for a moment, allow me to speak for you in the first person. In this sacred, precious moment, I can feel the presence of God. And I know that God is joy and harmony and unconditional love. God is that breath of fresh air I felt on my face when I was on my way here this morning. And I am one with this presence. And so I invite each and every person here to know this truth with me, that each person here is one with God. This is a perfect day. It's a new year, it's a new month, and I'm open and receptive to all of the good that God has in store for me. My heart is filled with love, and my life overflows with joy and abundance. This is the time, this is the moment, right here, right now, where I get to say yes. This is where everyone here today gets to say yes to their good. Gets to say yes to the infinite provider who withholds nothing. I know the message that Reverend Dan is going to deliver today. That's going to push us along our path. And so, with a grateful heart, I say thank you, God. Thank you, God, for our ministers. They just love this congregation unconditionally. I'm so grateful to the Ministry of Prayer team. I know they pray without ceasing. And I'm grateful for all the people behind the scenes that make this Sunday service seem like it's so easy. And I am grateful for everyone who showed up today. So I can let go and let God now. This prayer is done. And I release my word into the Lord, knowing that God's perfect work is being done, and we all say, and so it is.
You could be seated for just a moment, please, as we bring up the flag. It's fine. I wanted to read a press release from Centers for Spiritual Living. It's a call to action for all centers. We were telling them, you need to say something, and they finally did. Centers for Spiritual Living stands in solidarity with leaders and faith organizations who have spoken out about the executive order from the President of the United States of America that bans immigrants from 7 majority Muslim nations, including Syria, whose residents have been the subject of ongoing deadly civil war. Centers for Spiritual Living embraces the United States of America's values of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which to us means the inclusion of all people. Therefore, we affirm what is written at the base of the Statue of Liberty. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. We stand in solidarity with religious faith leaders who believe that it is possible to create a world that works for everyone, whose loss of human rights or national security. In following the example set by Jesus, who in Matthew 12:13 said, "Stretch forth thine hand." Our organization extends our hand out to others to promote goodwill, love, and compassion in the form of this affirmation of our solidarity. In the spirit of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, who stated that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter, who choose not to be silent, and instead we appeal to our leaders to work toward human dignity and compassion for those who turn to our nation for help. Centers for Spiritual Living values and celebrates the individual uniqueness and contribution of all people as they express through differences of gender, ethnicity, culture, history, experience, talent, and sexual orientation. Therefore, we commit to speak for and stand with those who are working diligently to uphold our Constitution and our Bill of Rights by protecting human rights and the dignity of all people. We commit to standing with those who refuse to discriminate on the basis of race, religion, nationality, gender, or sexual orientation. And this is signed by Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, our spiritual leader, Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, our field leader, and Reverend Dr. David Alexander, who is a leader of the council chair, and Steve Burton, who is our executive director. And I agree with that position, and you can disagree with that position. I still love you. I love all of you. And if you would please stand as we bless our nation and the world. God bless America and the rest of the world. And please
You know, Juanita's prayer said that this message will push you along your path. I think it's going to push Reverend Cheryl and Reverend Stacy off the edge. Happy to do it. Now, if you can't see that, it's a little cramped, that spells love. By the way, last night, after working many hours on this, I went and took a break and I went and saw Lion. If you have not seen it, I'm telling you what to do. You need to go see that movie. I've never been to a movie where the movie ended and not one person left. Everyone sat in their chairs and cried and talked. I don't do... God said, you need to write a different sermon. I said, well, I'm not Reverend Stacy Hilton. So talk to Stacy about that. We live in a complex world. There's a lot going on in our world. I know what Reverend Cheryl read is very controversial. There's enough anger and strife and conflict in the world. You live in a country that gives you the freedom of speech and the freedom of choice. Be for what you believe and avoid the conflict and the anger and the frustration that might come up for you when something contrary to what you believe is spoken. You live in America. You have this right. And furthermore, this teaching teaches you to think your own way. We welcome that you may think differently than that. But don't allow it to make you angry. You're adding to the problem. Be for something. Go and do something. Put your energy into changing things instead of fighting, even within your own church. I did it, God. Don't ever expect it again. Thank you for allowing me that privilege. I'll tell you one other thing, now that I'm on a roll. That movie, Lion, I don't know that I could have appreciated it if it wasn't for Reverend Stacy and Reverend Cheryl. Blame them. But for pushing us to start looking at the world and what's going on in the world and the injustices and the exclusion and learning to open up and embrace the world and to see what's going on in the world and not be airy-fairy about our teaching, but to challenge us to look into the world and figure out what we do with that. So thank you for challenging me. All right, now I'm done. So the title of my talk today is Thin Slicing. You can blame this on my mom since I'm in blame mode. She asked me earlier in the week, what are you talking about? She says, you know, Danielle, I don't always think people know all of these things. You can't give them big chunks of these things. You have to slice it thin, and discuss it with the people, Danielle. So today, we're not going to throw a big chunk of the truth at you. We're going to slice it. We're going to slice it thinly. And we're going to look into the truth of the law. So send your emails to maryjeanne@reno.com. We create our physical reality. And when you think about how amazing this is, we literally create people and things and circumstances and events. And we do that with what appears to be invisible. Thoughts, words, feelings, these things that seem to be invisible, and we couple that with an invisible law. And that's how we create the physical. We literally create the visible with the invisible. And so how is that possible? How can we explain this? Well, one way to explain this is to turn to something that we are already familiar with. And we hear it often in this teaching that the workings of the law are analogous with how electricity works. Now, I cannot tell you how many times I had to practice saying that word. And now, analogous. You can Google and say, how do you pronounce? And this woman that I don't know and I practiced this for an hour. So to better understand how the law works, let's look at the similarities between how electricity works and how the law works. Now, electricity, what we know, is that it is a natural law. It is invisible. And what we know is that electricity has always been in the universe. It has always been right in our lives. But it took us to discover it. And even more importantly, it took us to learn how to use it constructively. Now, the law, too, is invisible. It has always existed in the universe. It actually has always been working in the universe. But it took us to discover it. And to, more importantly, learn how to use it consciously and constructively. And I find it very amazing today how many people are discovering it and how many people are discovering how to use it. So a lot of times when I'm talking about our church and they say, well, what is that all about? I still use that whole story of, have you ever heard of the book, The Secret? And I'm amazed at how many people say, yes, I love that book. Or I'll be talking to someone and I'll say, well, and I start talking about the power of our thoughts and the power of our words on our lives. And people say, oh yes, I absolutely believe that. I find it interesting that Dr. Holmes, our founder, the author of the Science of Mind textbook, predicted nearly 100 years ago in his Declaration of Principles that one day the world would come to know this law and would come to know how to use it. In the Declaration of Principles, the 5th one, he says, "We believe the ultimate goal of life to be a complete freedom from all discord of every nature, and that this goal is sure to be attained by all." So Dr. Holmes knew that as we evolved, people would learn about this law and they would use it. Clearly, when we look into the world, we're still discovering that. But I believe that one day when people truly understand how the law works and the nature of the law, the world will change. That's why this movement, this teaching, is so important. So clearly what we see here is there is a similarity between electricity and the law in terms of them being natural laws. Let's explore the next similarity. What we know about electricity is that it allows us to use it as we choose. Electricity, if you could or tried to communicate with electricity, it absolutely doesn't care what you use it for. For example, if I want light, I plug a lamp into the electric socket and electricity produces light. Now, if I wanted coffee, I would plug the coffee maker in with the non-use of a cured K-cup to protect the environment, just because I don't want the email. And I plug the coffee maker into the socket, and the electricity literally works to create coffee. That's about what my mood is like. That's what that sounds like until I've had that first cup of coffee. If I have the desire for toast, I plug in the toaster into the electric socket, and electricity produces toast. Now, as you can see, all of these things are happening right now. And in all three of these examples, did you see electricity push back? Did it withhold anything from me?
No.
Is it judging how I'm using it?
No.
Is it refusing to manifest what I desire? No, not at all. And as a matter of fact, if electricity did so, we would find that awfully odd, wouldn't we?
Yes.
Toast. Now you guys just sit there for a minute. Mama needs her job. Talk amongst yourselves. Pumpkin, look, the very last of the pumpkin spice creamer. Now, do you know what that means? Officially, the holidays are over. The next best thing. All right. So, the law. What we know about the law, as we do electricity, is it is a natural law. And it is impersonal. It allows us to use it as we choose. Literally, it does not care what we use it for. For example, I have the desire to have the perfect relationship. And so I plug the idea, the thoughts of the perfect relationship using the tools of a practitioner, a wonderful practitioner, spiritual mind treatment, the right thinking. I used that and I plugged the idea of the perfect relationship into the socket of the law. And the law manifested a wondrous, loving, and respectful relationship. I had the idea of owning my very own home. And so I went about plugging in the idea of home using spiritual mind treatment, visualization, journaling, affirmations. I plugged the idea of the perfect home into the socket of the law, and the law produced the perfect home. Nowhere in those personal manifestations, as I look back, did the law push back, or withhold, or judge me, or refused to manifest my desire.
Or go a circuit.
Right. And as a matter of fact, I have come to a place of consciousness that if I do what I'm supposed to do, if I plug the right thinking into the law, and I don't get what I am affirming, I would find it odd that the law would do so. That is how confident I am moving into trusting this process. Electricity. Let's go back to electricity for a minute. When I had the desire for coffee, I plugged in the coffee maker, and the coffee maker produced, or electricity produced, coffee. Now follow me and stay with me for just a moment. If I had the desire for coffee, but plugged in the toaster, what would I get? Toast. Toast. I would have gotten toast. You see, what we've learned from electricity is that if I want a certain thing, I have got to plug in the right appliance to get it. And here's another very important point. If I wanted coffee, but I plugged in the toaster and I got toast, I would assume it was sort of early in the morning. And I would have said to myself, why, silly me, you plugged in the wrong appliance. Never would I say, toast? Toast? God doesn't love me. The universe doesn't have my back. Reverend Stacy and Reverend Cheryl can have coffee, but I can't have coffee. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy enough to have coffee. Now, if you were seen doing that, why, they would come for you. And you would get a wraparound suit and a nicely cushioned room. And the whole time I'm doing this, where is electricity? Where it always is. And what's electricity doing? What it always does. And electricity can't question you, but if it could, it would say, you are crazy. Because all I'm doing is waiting for you to figure out what you want and plug the right appliance in. One moment, The law. When I had the desire for a home, I plugged in the ideas and the thoughts of a home, and the law manifested a home. Because see, what we've learned in this teaching is when I know what I want and I plug in the right thoughts and the right beliefs, the law will produce a home. We also know that if I desire a home, but I plug in to the law the idea that I can't have a home, the law makes no home. And see, that's what we do. We desire one thing. I want a home, but we're thinking the right thought, or the wrong thoughts. I want a home, and then I begin to say and think, oh, I can't own a house. That could never be possible for me. Oh, I could never afford a home. How in the world would I ever maintain a home by myself? And what do you know? What a surprise. Or as we say in the Science of Mind 103 class, coincidence. Because when we're plugging stuff in like that, the home doesn't show up. You see, when we are plugging the wrong thoughts in, crazy. All of a sudden, the house that we bid on, the deal falls through. The market changes. The money that we had saved for the down somehow gets distracted into something else. You can't think no home and have the law produce a home. And it's kind of interesting because when that sort of happens, we don't go, oh, well, silly me. I must have plugged the wrong thoughts into the law. We rather say, no hope. Why doesn't God love me? Why doesn't the universe support me? I'm not worthy. Others can have a house, but I guess it's not for me. I'm not good enough. Interesting thing. When you're saying all that, where is the law? Always where it's always been. And what's the law doing? Same stuff it's always been doing. And it's just waiting for me to figure out what I want and then plug the right thoughts in. Let's explore another similarity. Is it possible for us to use electricity incorrectly? Is it possible for us to experience something negative when we go against the nature of electricity? I'd like to introduce you to Eric Hardrift. He's here on the left. Got the whole lineman look. Bald head, beard, has nails in his Wheaties. And Eric is from Idaho Power, and funny, God's timing. I love the way God makes sure that I have everything I need for a sermon. But Eric was a presenter 2 weeks ago at MV Energy's 2017 Safety Kickoff. And Eric's a very strong, powerful young man. He's married to a lovely woman. They have 2 small children. And Eric is respected for being a confident and well-trained lineman. So not too long ago, Eric was working with an apprentice lineman, and their job was to install the wiring on 8 poles. So the first crew came in, put the poles in, and then Eric and the apprentice are coming behind them. And they had wired 7 poles. Pole number 8, Eric was starting to get a little anxious. Been a long day. His wife's at home pregnant. And so he's losing his focus a little bit. And the big plan was that I mean, yeah, his wife's pregnant, that's a big deal, but the bigger deal is, as soon as he gets off work, they're going home, hooking the boat up to his favorite toy, his truck, and they're going water skiing. So they start installing pole 8. And wanting to get done as soon as possible, Eric decided to cut a few corners. And his apprentice, a junior, called Eric out on that. Said, Eric, this isn't how this works. This isn't going to turn out very good. Sometimes your ministers say that to you, or your practitioners. His reply is, hey, we've done 7 poles today with no problem. Let's get 8 done and get out of here. And then it happened. A high voltage power line came into contact with the equipment that Eric was working with. And you would like to think that maybe you could just scoot out of the way. Yeah, see, that electricity traveling at 186,000 miles per second, you better be damn fast. And that electricity came in through his legs, through his stomach, and out both of his hands, and killed him instantly. His apprentice performed CPR, and miraculously, he was brought back to life. However, his life is radically changed. We can never go against the nature of a natural law and there not be consequences. The law. Is it possible to use the law incorrectly? Is it possible to go against the nature of the law? See, the law must be used according to its own nature. Dr. Holmes tells us in The Science of Mind that in fact the law has its own particular nature. And then he goes on to tell us what happens when we go against that nature. Page 285. We cannot believe that any law of the universe will ever change its own nature because we desire it to do so. As we come to the spiritual realm, which is a perfectly natural and normal realm, we have to come into its own nature. It is a unity. There must be nothing vicious in it. Remember what Jesus said. Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother hath aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift. Why? Because we cannot enter into peace while we are in a state of confusion. It cannot be done. We cannot manifest love when we have a mental equivalent of hate in our hearts and our minds. One more reading. Life must return to us the manifestation of our motives, our thoughts, and our desires. Whether these motives, thoughts, and desires were intended for ourselves or others. It means that the thought of judgment, criticism, and condemnation must in time operate against the one who sets it in motion. Ultimately, we shall see that the universe rests on the shoulders of love. That God is love, and that all the errors of man are the result of ignorance of his own true nature. The universe, the law, has its own nature. And so what we come to understand is that when we go against the nature of the law, and we do that when we judge and criticize and condemn and gossip and try to hold people back and try to tear people down and move into anger, we have gone against the nature of the law, and the law will redirect that very energy that we have put into motion and redirects it back towards us. And we come in contact, like our lineman friend, with our own judgment, our own criticism, our own tearing down and gossiping and hate. It literally comes down right through the high voltage power line that we're connected to, that connects us to the universe. And every time we do that, it leaves us less than whole, just like Eric. It leaves us in lack and dis-ease, unsatisfying experiences. We're electrocuted by our own unkindness and our inability to love. You have to remember, we cannot plug in unkindness and unloving and expect that this law will deliver back kindness and love to us. It doesn't work that way. You get back what you plug into the law. I heard someone, and I question where we have the right, just because people are in public places, in the public eye, that we can be so critical. And I'll move past the political realm, but even entertainers. I heard someone say, Kim Kardashian barely has 2 brain cells to rub together. Well, I looked up Kim Kardashian's net worth. She's worth $53 million. I'll take, because that means each of those brain cells is worth about $20-some million. I'll take one of those brain cells. Just like when we go against the nature of electricity, when we go against the nature of the law, the consequence will, and I don't say maybe or possibly, it will show up in our lives. So as funny as it all sounds, and I've said this before, the old 70s saying, today is the first day of the rest of your life. So today, this very moment, because it doesn't matter, this law has no remembering of what yesterday looked like. The law is a now law. It is a present law. So at any moment, we can plug something new into the law, and we can experience the life we've always dreamed of. Never once did the Buddha, never once did Jesus, never once did Ernest Holmes, never once did Oprah ever say, right, the big O, right up there with the big J and the big B. But the message is, it can change. It doesn't matter what the past has been. Reverend Cheryl always says, principle is not bound by precedents. So today, this brand new baby day, let it be the first day of the rest of your new, beautiful life. I look forward to seeing what you plug into the law. And as the beloved says, I can hardly wait to see how that turns out. I love you very much. So if you'll stand and connect. So know with me right here and right now that we celebrate that all there is in this universe is God. The Holy Bible tells us that God is love. And so what that means is that each and every person here is an extension of love. An expression of love. And so I take that good news and I bless this center. I give thanks for this center. I give thanks for each and every person here. I give thanks knowing that each person is divinely guided, protected, and guarded by the love of this universe. And I know right here and right now that each person plugs the idea of love and life and acceptance and abundance and joy and peace into the law. And each person lives a life filled with all of those things. I say thank you, God, for all this love. And together we say, and so it is.